Okay, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Live from Sword Coast podcast. My name is Kevin Madison, and I will be your friendly dungeon muser today. Today, I am going to be taking a look at something that just showed up in the mail, and that is the Runequest Roleplaying and Glorantha Slipcase set. I have been eagerly awaiting this eagerly awaiting it going on sale. First off, to actually be available for purchase, and then the last couple of days been seeing in the Twitter stream of people's box sets showing up. So I've been really eager to get my hands on this sucker, and I thought I would shoot a unboxing video to see what what's in there with you folks. Now, I actually already had the regular edition of this, and what I didn't realize is I guess there's a second printing of this that's included in the slipcase. And what I've heard is that the slipcase version or the second printing has lighter printing. So some of the images, particularly the darker ones, there's more detail that you're seeing in them, which is weird because this is actually the second core rulebook I've heard that happen with, because more recent editions of the Player's Handbook has the same type of thing, whereas the earlier printings of it were very dark. But so I don't know why that is, but in any event, I thought I'd take a look in here. So the books, I haven't even taken the plastic off this sucker yet. It's quite heavy. I picked up the I didn't get the Call of Cthulhu one because I've got all the books and they're not selling the slipcase separately, but it is the same pretty like hefty weight you would expect from a box set. The slipcase is very durable, which is lovely. Let's get this plastic off here and read what we got on here. Okay, so one thing automatically that I really love is there's no stupid fucking loose paper that comes with the packaging. There's been a couple other box sets like the Numenera one that you see there. That one, and I think the Pirates of Drinax had this as well, where the box set was packaged or sealed with some loose paper as well too that was used as I guess ad stuff, and that's not the case here. Whatever you see in the slipcase is what's actually in the on the actual slipcase itself, and I really like that, honestly, because so it's such a stupid completionist thing, but like I don't know what to do with that loose paper. Like, do I throw it away? Do I stuff it in the slipcase? I'm sure it's designed to just be thrown away because I've already purchased the thing, but I hate having to throw like something that came in the package like that. I hate throwing it away. So anyway, so let's see, what do we have here? Role-playing in Glorantha. What is Glorantha? Glorantha is the mythic world that can be found on the other capital O side, capital S of our consciousness. First discovered by Greg Stafford over 50 years ago, Glorantha has been explored in such games as White Bear and Red Moon, Dragon Pass, Runequest, Hero Quest, and King of Dragon Pass. Try out a skill-based percentile system that balances experience-driven progression with deadly combat. So, pretty cool. The three books that are included in this are the Role-Playing in Glorantha core rulebook, the Bestiary, and then the Game Master's Pack. Now, I've already seen the contents of these two suckers already. The Bestiary, I purchased the PDF versions of each of these guys before, but I have no idea what's in the Game Master screen pack. And the Bestiary in particular, so the PDF version of it was incredibly beautiful. Like the art in, very much like in the core rulebook, the art was astounding, and it really made me interested in seeing what learning more about the RuneQuest setting. RuneQuest is one of those games, I should say as well, for myself, it never really was on my radar. Like I was a D&D player, and then I got into Call of Cthulhu when I was younger, but we owned RuneQuest at some points, but it never really, grok. We may have been too young, or just may not have been our thing. We were into Rollmaster as well too, and that's a pretty skill heavy or crunchy kind of game as compared to D&D. So maybe that's why we went there. But in any event, it's not a setting or a world that I've ever really gotten into. And with this most recent edition, well, actually I had a gateway drug of it with Mithras, buddy. Runeslinger, who has a terrific YouTube channel. Runeslinger had a lot of stuff about Mithras, which is sort of like a spin-off game of this, in the same way that kind of like Pathfinder was for D&D. But then this edition came out, and this was keyed to be in the default setting. It wasn't designed in any way to be a standalone game. RuneQuest was supposed to be set in this setting of Glorantha, which is like a kind of a Bronze Age, high, like mythic kind of setting. So anyway, so I was looking forward to learning more about the setting, because it's got some really interesting conceits. But this is the book that I was the most excited to get for it. I've had the core rulebook for a while, and maybe I'll just quickly flip through that for you. So the art in this is full color throughout for both of these books, and it is incredible, like really evocative. And if you think of a Bronze Age civilization, or at least when I think of a Bronze Age civilization, I think my imagination is pretty limited. So I'm picturing, drab, dreary, kind of working with bronze, low tech, low complexity kind of settings, and that is really not what is depicted in the setting here, or in the rule book. To give you an example here of just some of the amazing art that they give, to really bring the setting to life. Like, look at that stuff. It's crazy. They give some terrific example, like in a lot of role-playing games, sample kind of characters here. Like, there's your warrior sample kind of character. Some other stuff too. One of the things that the rulebook does in its art in particular is really bring to life how different and vibrant and personalized that style of technology, or that level of technology, can be for each character. That last one we looked at looks totally different from, well, not totally, but I mean, you can tell one character from the other. Farmer. And the art for this carried on throughout the rule book. So in this particular artist, I don't know who this is, but I'm fairly certain that this is the artist, guy or girl or otherwise, who actually did the art for the recent Prophet. Maybe not recent, but in the last 10 years, there was a relaunch of the old 90s comic Prophet. And I'm fairly certain that the artist who does a lot of the art in here is that same person who worked on that comic. And it's terrific work. Like, it really, same thing as the other art I showed. It gives it a real sense of, I don't know, like, it gives it real life. It's much easier for me to figure out what my character is going to look like, what the adventures will look like in, in that campaign, or in the campaign setting, and think beyond the limitations of what my preconceptions of a Bronze Age civilizations would be. And then what this book does, the bestiary, is expand that out and give you the Glorantha versions of some of the other creatures. And like, take a look on the back here. There are some dragonkin related things. And I will say right now as well, like, I am completely ignorant with respect to the backstory. I wanted to wait until I got everything to really dive into Glorantha. So if I'm saying anything that is incorrect or is a misrepresentation of it, please feel free to correct me in the comments, because I really know squat about the setting, and I'm looking forward to diving into this box set to find out more. There's another of the maps that's included in it. There's one in the rulebook as well too. So let's get to the actual, man. Oh man, the art in this is awesome. So here we go. There's your dragon newt races. And I understand that they sort of like evolve within their lifetime from one to another, which is kind of cool. Not kind of cool, it's really fucking cool. You've got there, so the bestiary intersperses full color art like that with some other smaller, like sepia tone art. But even the sepia stuff, like, look at that stuff. That is just, here we go. Come on, camera. Pow. Super cool stuff. And there are some, like a lot of role-playing games, there are some wonky things that are legacies of earlier editions. One of the things you may have noticed in that is ducks. So from what I understand, here we go, get him up there. Come on, camera. Work with us. There he is, or she is. And what this, that's something that's, from my understanding, has been in RuneQuest from the get-go. They didn't want to put just hobbits in, so instead of hobbits or halflings, you've got ducks. So you could play as a duck character, and that was always a signature part of the RuneQuest experience. And to be honest, one of the things that put me off it, I was like, this is too silly for me, because I was such a fucking self-serious teenager. These are the elves in RuneQuest. Like, look at those things. God dang, that's cool. I wish I could offer more insight as to what all those things mean, but there are what they've defined as elder races in here. And I do know that they give you rules for playing some of these elder races as characters as well, or not the elder races, but some of these races as actual characters as well too. So what this book does is expand beyond what you can play in the core rulebook, which is humans, some giants as well too. Come on, camera, work with this. Auto focus. Here we go. Yep, anytime now. Maybe I should just hold it back rather than keep trying to hold it up to the camera. The paper quality is pretty great in this as well too. Is there markings on the side? Yeah, and there's this beautiful edgings or borders, I suppose, on the thing. And one of the other weirdo monsters that's kind of a legacy of earlier editions as well is this thing called a Jacko-bear, as I understand it. And what a Jacko-bear was in the older art is basically like a snarling jack-o'-lantern on a bear. So it's kind of like it's an answer to the owl bear. And every other piece of art I've seen of that is kind of ridiculous. But this is pretty fucking cool. Look at that. Like that is not something you would want chasing after you. There are the book itself is organized into different kind of different areas. Like there's the elder races, there's monsters, there's animals, giant things. I'm trying to find the picture of the dwarves as well too, just because that's another one of those things that really helped kind of spur my interest in seeing the print version of this, because they're so different from what you get in other settings. Like, so there are the different dwarven races. Look at those little guys. That's just super, super cool. So the this book is, wow, it has a crap ton. I have no idea what the count is for it, but it's got just a crap ton of monsters. Some of them are things you would recognize in your bog standard kind of fantasy setting. Some seem to be pretty unique, like Sky Bulls, which is obviously playing into that kind of Bronze Age vibe that the setting is going for. Oh, one of my favorite monsters, the Wyvern. Look at that. Man, that's cool. I think that guy's going to get to the table sometime soon. Oh, and even better, we got an illustration of someone riding a Wyvern. Fuck me. You've got a Wyvern riding characters in the game, then that's an easy sell for me. Look at that. Wow. Yeah, so as far as B series go, you know, I mean, I'm sure that I, like a lot of other folks, you know, as a kid, made a lot more use of my monster manual to look at the cool pictures and try and redraw them and stuff like that than I necessarily did actually making use of it at the table, or maybe equally. But this is like that. There's just so many really beautiful pictures in here, and a ton of great information as well too. So you've got all your game stats, and RuneQuest is, I think, like Mithras, where it models hit locations. So every different creature with a different, you know, different anatomy is going to have a different set of, you know, vulnerable bits and different limbs and things like that. So each of the monster stats actually includes a hit location for them as well too, as well as their standard attacks and whatnot. So you know, regardless of whatever thing you're fighting, you will have the ready to go hit location table as well. In addition, some of these things have little insets in there that are little kind of story bits for how these different monsters or creatures or whatever fit into the Glorantha setting as well. And as for I mentioned as well that this has a lot of stuff for playing different kinds of characters as well. There's an example of what the inset looks like for the Centaur. So if you wanted to play a Centaur character, I had a really great Centaur character back in my cousin's D&D, basic D&D campaign. Some of them are a little more comprehensive. So here's for playing Elf. It's a whole page worth of stuff. And then they also include some items as well, too. Religion is a big thing in Glorantha as well, too. The gods have a very, very significant presence, and they're the use of runes to by your characters, and runic magic is a big thing as well. This adds a bunch of stuff for different races as well too. Oh, I have something at the door. One moment. I hear it. So, when it rains, it pours, because I just had a package from Odysseus show up as well too. So, my apologies for anyone listening to this later for the weird absence. But yeah, so I've got some Conan stuff that showed up as well. That's pretty great. But what I was saying is that in the the core rulebook gives you all the rules for playing humans, and the different gods they worship, the cults that sort of form around those gods, and then there's an extensive amount of backstory stuff that you use, tables and whatnot, to generate sort of the history of your family, the history of your character. So you're really situating your character in the world, as well as learning your backstory. So you come into the game, or you start the campaign with a real good sense of where your character is in the in the wider world, and that's something that appeals to me about those particular games. And what this does is it adds more of that stuff for the different race. So this is the Elven stuff. There's information on the Elven cults, and then special runic spells that elves would have access to. And there's similar stuff for that for like the dragon newts, the dwarves, and so on. And there's so. We got rules here on dragon magic, and so this is pretty fucking cool. Like, there's just a ton of great stuff. Like, take a look at this. There you go. There's your Bronze Age style gargoyle, which is really awesome. And this is because I'm a superficial idiot, I guess, but part of the reason I also was not really big into RuneQuest before was I just didn't really dig on the art from previous editions. It felt, it just didn't really grab me. This most recent edition is one of the most beautiful role-playing games I think I've ever seen. Like, look at that. Triceratops with dragon newts on top. That's super fucking cool. So this definitely is one of those things that look at this here. Jeez, it's got kind of a Wendigo or like First Nations kind of vibe to these monsters. This is something that really, not only does it have me interested in Glorantha in general, it's something that I think any role-playing game would benefit from these kind of production qualities. Like, it's just gorgeous. And this is consistent with everything I think that I've got from Chaosium, to be honest, in the last little while. Chaosium's products have just been really incredible, not only in the content, but in the quality as well, too, in terms of the art. Look at that. My goodness. So there's that. There's lots of spirits as well, too. Spirits are a big thing in the Glorantha setting as well. It's not called Lamasu, but or Shadu. It's Thunder Brother, I think. Is that right? Yeah. And that's cool. Like, being able, a lot of the monsters, I guess, traditional monsters from from D&D do have that kind of Bronze Age origin, I suppose, as well. But this seems, I mean, the fact that this is such a distinctly Bronze Age setting, but has such a really interesting, and I don't know, I mean, it feels like what these books make me realize is how vibrant that kind of world can be. So it helps me get beyond the the limits of my own preconceived well, this is pretty cool. My own preconceptions of what it could be to play in a Bronze Age setting. But look at that. It's a Walk-to-Pie. Beautiful. I don't know who the artist is, who's done all the illustrations and paintings in here, but boy, oh boy, and there's another one too. Like, I love how distinctly, like, like how classic the illustrations feel in this. Like, that feels really alive and like something you could interact with in the world, but it distinctly has that kind of crude tools kind of feel to it. It feels like it's something that would be made with a civilization before mass production, before really fine or fine tools and things like that. So yeah, okay, so that's the bestiary. As compared to the PDF, it absolutely surpassed my expectations. So let's take a look at the last thing that's in here. So this is the Game Master screen. And this is not just a Game Master screen. It looks like there's a book in there. There's the GM screen as well. And I understand there's some maps in here too. And just like the slip set from, where is it here? Boop. Masks of Nyarlathotep. There is a little light cardboard thing to sleeve to kind of keep your maps and stuff in. So that's kind of nice, where you can have loose products like that without resorting to like an old school kind of box set kind of thing that's going to eventually get destroyed, and still take advantage of the slipcase manner. So I'm just getting the plastic wrap off of this. And the art on this is likewise, super cool. Oh, and I kind of like that it lines up with the art. There's two different bits here. There, where, whoop, there she comes. Oh, and we have my bane, the bane of my existence, the paper cover. Now, I remember this was in, something like this was in the massive Nyarlathotep thing as well, but being the fucking OCD idiot I am, I'm going to keep that. And let's see what we got in here. So we've got, first off, we've got a really nice cardstock DM screen. This feels very much like the same one that they produced for Call of Cthulhu as well too. It's really great, solid stock. It is landscape rather than whatever the fuck the opposite of landscape is. So it's lower, which is kind of nice. And boy, oh boy, is there a lot of stuff on here. So let's just take a look at the wall there. Whew. Now, if anything is going to make you really, or add to the experience of feeling immersed in a kind of a Bronze Age setting like Glorantha, I think seeing that big, I think it's called the Wall of Gods or the Wall of Heroes. Take a look at that. My goodness. It's pretty awesome. And it's not just the players who have something nice to look at, because look at all this information on the other side here. Color-coded, really clear text. It's got a wonderful finish on it as well too. So if you're familiar with the finish that was on the Call of Cthulhu one, this is exactly the same as well. And it looks like there is, not being familiar with this particular iteration of it, I can say that there's the information that's on the screen includes magic use, which is a bunch of the different modifiers that might come up. There's a fumble chart, which is all very helpful. Shield hit locations, what dodge results. There's indices here for what when everything in Runequest. It's a percentile-based game. If you're not familiar with the game, I should have probably led with that. But so it's a percentile-based game where you're using percentile dice to roll against a specific skill, and then it is also a contested game. So if you actually model every sword stroke and every exchange between combatants. So one person rolls an attack, one person rolls a dodge or a parry, and this tells you what that what the result of that is, depending on how everyone does. There's summaries of different types of damage. I like that. And then there's Oh, cool. And there's a summary of what happened. So all your combat information is on the one chart here. All your magic information is on the other. Oh, and there's a difference for the dodge chart and the parry chart. So that's cool. Information on strike rank, which I understand to be like the length of your weapons or the length of your attack. So it's kind of like reach. There's stuff here for the damage bonus and the size and dex strike rank modifiers. Now, I'm not sure that's something, not familiar with the game, I don't know if that's something that you would ever need to calculate on the fly, but, you know, I guess it's good that it's there. And then there are ability tests as well, too, and the resistance table. So something that's a signature part of the basic role-playing engine that sort of is behind Runequest and Call of Cthulhu and Hawkmoon and some versions of Stormbringer, I think it's called, the Elric role-playing game. They use this resistance table, and that's just what you figured out what your skill is, what the other person's is, and if you're not doing a specific resisted test where both people are rolling, you roll on this sucker. Saving throws, effectively, like things that would be subject to saving throws in other role-playing games are instead in the resistance table. Comes up in Magic quite a bit in Call of Cthulhu. So yeah, okay, so that's pretty great. Really easy to read, and the art is this very cool, fine line art. Oh gosh, I'm not doing it justice at all. Come on. This is really great. It's not just painted, but it's not like a traditional, comic style illustration. There we go. It's got this really lovely, very fine inking, like fine line work for the inking on it, which again kind of has a vibe of more like European comics than modern American comics. In the last 20 years, American comics have really branched out to have, there's not just sort of one line that looks right in a comic book, but Europeans have always been much more willing to experiment with their line work to have more thick and heavy cartoony lines like in Asterix and Obelix, and more precise and the ligne claire technique for Tintin and things like that. This feels like kind of a child of the ligne claire and the American comic technique, but still feeling like a role-playing game. Not I think if you have been into role-playing games for a while, you may remember phases where certain role-playing games like D&D favored more of a comic style approach, heavy inking, illustrative style, rather than like the painting they used in older versions. And that just felt like a weird fit for me. It felt like a weird fit and didn't feel like it suited the content. But anyway, so we've also got in here a bunch of handouts, and then there's a pretty big book of guessing like 60 pages, maybe 60 pages of adventures. Is that right? How good am I at judging? Holy fuck, terrible. It's 124 pages. So there's 124 pages of adventures in here too. Whoa, and like, look at this stuff. That's pretty great. I think it's that same illustrator that I mentioned before, the one who did Prophet in the 2010s. Boy, look at this art. My goodness. So let's take a look at the... oh, hold on. My goodness. Look at these characters. Wow, that's cool. Let's look at the table of contents and see how many adventures are in here. So we've got background here for some region called the Kolabar tribe, and then we've got some locations, some rumors, and then a couple adventures. So I guess this is maybe like a small little gazetteer or gazetter that just gives you a kind of a region and then some adventures that can happen in there. That is pretty fucking cool. I love that. Let's see if there's a map in here that I can show you. Oh, I can show you some more dragon newts, though. Look at that. Boy, that's cool. So, oh, wow. There's the city of Clearwater. Is that what it's called? Clearwine. And that's awesome. Like, holy smokes, what a really cool looking, city from antiquity. It's a fort. Okay, so it's Clearwine Fort. And I guess there's a whole listing of kings in here. There's the background for the tribe. Wow. So that's pretty awesome. Look at that. I think from my brief perusal of the bestiary, I think that's a dream something dragon. What is that thing called? I don't know. Anyway, maybe I won't spoil that in the event that it's something that is a important bit of that adventure. But so just flipping through this, there is just a ton. Like there's an illustration of some kind, be it a map or a character illustration or whatnot, on every like second page here. It's just amazing. Some of these are, you know, maps of different area locations, like settlements, I should say. Some look like more like tactical kind of things, and some are just not just, but some of them are the illustrations. Like, oh my goodness, look how evocative that is. Hey, a giant boar coming in, and then this crazy spirit. No doubt who's in remains maybe in that urn there. Boy, oh boy. Like the art design on this thing is just crazy. It totally throws you into that world. You know, I understand that I didn't have a dog in this fight, but when it was announced that that the game was going to be focused on being in Glorantha and having a specific Glorantha focus to it, rather than releasing a new version of RuneQuest that was more of a generic thing, that was a bit of a controversial decision. But boy, oh boy, like picking one clear setting that you're trying to emulate with your products, really, I think this is a great example of how that can totally work out. Because boy, do I want to play in this game. Oh, look at this. Okay, cool. So there's also a handout of just the tables as well, too. So if your players need to look up quickly, like how spells work, or they cost rather, what their weapons are. So if you're having as is always the damn case, your players decide to do something that you didn't expect, and you need to quickly find the stats for, say, a one-handed sword or a two-handed spear. Boom, you got those right in there. So I like that a lot. And I like that there is some duplication in here from the Game Master table, but I like that because this is something that's easier to hand out to the players if they need to look it up, or you can just co-op them and get them to help making some stuff. Oh, cool. We got a Glorantha calendar as well for what's going on in here. I don't know anything about this, but I do know that this is quite pretty looking. Whoa. And it's like, the calendars that you would get from your accountant in January. They've got different illustrations that are views of different parts of Glorantha at the start of each of these. And what a great job of highlighting different kind of different parts of that world. Like each of these really looks totally different. Different cool places you can go and explore. I saw some reference to Thunder Peaks at some point. Man, look at that. There's that Linclair style again. Boy, that's cool. So that's the calendar that comes in there. You also have, wow, a really pretty looking character sheet. Whew, look at this. So this is the one of the character sheets that came in here. I think there's only one in here, so I imagine they would sell them separately. But it's really beautiful, and it seems like it's clear to read as well too. So that would be a really great. If you're playing your game in person, this is a pretty cool thing. And there's a worksheet in that's part of the character sheet as well that helps you develop what your parents' backstory is, your grandparents' backstory, and so forth. So it's great, and I like the idea that it's all part of the same sheet as well too. So you kind of keep everything together rather than having like your kind of character creation jot notes on one sheet and then having your actual at the table play sheet differently. And if you don't like that one, if you find that one too busy, you got more of a plain Jane kind of one. It still looks pretty good, but it doesn't have all the extra stuff on it. There are some pre-generated characters in here too, who I believe come from the core rulebook, actually. So we've got Vasana, who's Farnan's daughter. Check out Vasana. Pretty cool. And there's her bison. The bison is the provincial animal for my my home province in Canada. Yeah, so anything that adds bison, like Iron Kingdoms, the Iron Kingdoms role-playing game did that, and anything that adds bison, you've got me sold. I want to play a bison rider. Here's another of those characters who's, I think, this is Yanioth, a apprentice priestess of Ernelda of the Ernadoli clan. Vasanya is an Vinga initiate of Orlanth. I don't know what that means, but it sounds neat. We've got Harmast, that little dude there. There's Zebra Mount, kind of cool. We've got Vishy Dun, who is a initiate of Waha. Again, no idea what that means, but bet you it's neat. Oh, we got this cool dude. Little soldier. And I know from reading the spellbook, the core rulebook before, that dude's got, every character in RuneQuest has the ability or the capacity to make use of runes as well, too, which is pretty cool. So, like, that dude could summon a little fire elemental in the background there. It's something he can actually do as part of his cult. Another character here, Sarala. And Nethem, son of Naheen. Oh, that's badass. So for those of you who like leaning in the ranger direction, there's a pretty cool example of how you could do that in a Bronze Age setting. They then give you some NPC sheets and a squad sheet. Cool. So I guess they've got minion rules. That's pretty cool. I actually didn't know that. Oh, maybe not. Maybe it's just this is a way of tracking a whole group of people together at one. I will do at some point, I'm sure, a proper review of this. Okay, and then we got more stuff still. My goodness. More maps. And this was in that adventure. I think it's the same place, Apple Lane. Look at that. Especially if you're playing in person, like laying that down in front of the characters. What a great way to make such a unfamiliar type of world feel alive. Hey, look at that. I think I'm going to have to start binging the 2 seasons of Rome again. Get myself in the spirit. And there's that same fort that we saw before. And then there's another map on the back there. And then we've got, oh boy, more maps. There's that guy. And I guess that's the different clans that I mentioned before. And then there is on the other side, there's the actual map without the clan designations. That looks great too. Boy, oh boy. It's a cool looking map. Oh, and there's a dragon. Oh, cool. There's a dragon newt city called Highworm featured in the middle here. I really need to learn about that because I love the look of those dragon newts in here. Okay, and last thing here is the map of Dragon Pass. Now, I mentioned that there was a map on the inside of the core rulebook. Also, if we hold that up. So this is what the map in the core rulebook looks like. And it's gorgeous, but it's a little busy. You know, the Warhammer Fantasy 4th Edition rulebook has something similar where it's a gorgeous looking map, but boy, is it busy, and it's a little hard to make stuff out. But I think that's because it was not designed to be seen at that scale. This, wow, is the scale that it's designed to be seen at. And from here, this is a lot easier. I should be talking towards the mic. Sorry. This looks like a lot better. It's much easier to make out things. And boy, oh boy, is this a great looking map. Really cool stuff. Is there a scale on it, though? Yes, there is. Nice. They didn't create or commit the original sin that I see on too many of these damn gaming maps. Look at that thing. And then there's this great little kind of design elements thrown in at the corners. This is of a region called Dragon Pass. And I know there is a date listed at the top here. And the cool thing is when you make your character, you actually, as you're creating your family's history, you're setting clear days or dates for them too. So, boy, oh boy. Okay, so that is everything that is in there. And again, like the amount of stuff that's in the Game Master Pack is really, really impressive. I think this is more than what was, I mean, I know this is more than what was in the Call of Cthulhu one. But boy, so you not only do you get a crap ton of maps, a bunch of adventures, and a setting, you do get that really, really beautiful screen with it as well, too. So kudos to the good folks at Chaosium. That is really awesome. So let's just take a look, see how hard it is to get the sucker back in there. Boom. Pretty easy. Except that damn paper. Damn you, paper! So hard to get back in. All right, there we go. It's worked out. Okay. Maybe I should just be less of a spaz. Yep, so it's fit back in there just fine, which means I can slip that and get in there. You little horse. The core rulebook. Let me take a quick look here, see if I can... if it is true that there is a difference in the quality of the blacks in this, where's one of those darker illustrations? And I can hold up. Yeah, that map, there it's repeated in the core rulebook. Boy, does that thing look good as a big, fold out thing rather than. I mean, it's not bad. It's not awful in the core rulebook. It's just that it is. It's just really hard to make out details in it, and obviously that's because the it was designed to be viewed much bigger. So I certainly cannot fault the artist for it not looking as detailed at the. Okay, well, yeah, there's a bit of a difference here. Okay, so let me just see if this. Hopefully the camera will pick this up. But so on. Well, jeebus. There we go. So on the right here, that is the original one, first printing, and on the left, that is the new printing. And I think in particular, if you can see at the bottom, so the figure that's on the left there, take a look at the bottom of her corset or whatever it is, or armor bit. You can see how it's much more vibrant on the one on the left than on the one on the right. So, it's not like there's the D&D one was a lot more noticeable where there was actually bits that were completely obscured and maybe in some of the darker images. But that's just an example of how this second printing of the core rulebook definitely had, more. It did a better job of letting the finer details and the colors from the illustrations really kind of shine through. So the core rulebook, you're going to go away, my friend. And this bestiary, you're not going away because I'm going to be spending some time paging through you. Boy, oh boy. So the I guess the last thing I'll say is, as with the original printing too, the binding on these feels terrific. Each of them has these great little bookmarks that a lot of modern role-playing games have. We're really in quite the golden age in terms of production quality for our role-playing games. But look at that again, that dragon newt. Oh, come on, you. Come on, camera. Maybe I should get my stupid head out of the way. Okay, that might help so we can get him to focus. Look at that. Man, that's cool. And what a unique take on the idea of kind of like the lizard people, dragon people too. Like they look kind of like kobolds to a degree. They look kind of like, dinosaur men, I guess, but they really look like their own thing. And that's, I think that's a real achievement in terms of character design, because if it doesn't read as like, oh, that's just the kobold from here, and really does read as its own unique thing, I think that really helps, especially for a game that is trying to have a clear vision of what their world looks like. So that is everything that is in the slipcase edition of the book. It's got this beautiful illustration that's just the cover without the cover of the core rulebook without the logo information on it. It's got this great yellow lettering that a lot of the Chaosium box sets have now, which means that if you're, say, like me, going to find a space for this sucker next to that massive Nyarlathotep thing, it's going to look great there. And the attention to detail, I understand, is so precise that there's actually a specific meaning behind the runes that they chose to have on each of these as well, too, in fitting with a game called Runequest. So I don't know what that is, but that's neat that they added that detail in there. And I'm sure as I get more immersed in the world and in the product, that I'm going to be learning more about it. So anyway, boy, oh boy. So that is what is in the Runequest Roleplaying in Glorantha Slipcase Edition, which just came available for sale last week. And they've said that they've got plenty of these things in. So if you have been on the fence about the Runequest game, or you've been holding off picking it up, and you decide you think you're going to be jumping in on the full, a whole hog on this, I mean, it would have been wiser for me to hold off until this thing came out to pick up the core rulebook. But I've got an extra copy, I suppose, that I can use in person, so that's good. I also understand that at the time of recording, they just announced a bunch of new products for it as well, too. So it is going to be a fairly well-supported line. And thus far, since the, Call of Cthulhu 7th edition has come out, Chaosium has done a really, really terrific job of getting a bunch of great stuff out. Like, there's continually new, really interesting idea or different products that are coming out for Call of Cthulhu. And if they're intending to do the same with Runequest, then I think that this is a pretty good core starting point for for jumping on that kind of ride. For myself, like, I love getting in at the beginning of a game, and being able to ride it through. I haven't been able to do that with an awful lot of games, but the ones that I did ended up, in retrospect, kind of being the ones I loved the most, or the ones I got the best memory for. So anyway, so that said, you can all three of these books, or the two books in the Game Master thing, they're available separately as well. And you can also purchase just the slipcase. So if you did buy the stuff separately, you can actually buy the slipcase to keep all your stuff together, which I wish they had done with Call of Cthulhu, because I've got all the books, but I don't have the damn slipcase. But that is neither here nor there. So anyway, I see we've got some folks in chat too. Yeah, Fred, I'm. It sounds like I am impressed with the slipcase. I am. Like the for these things, the I've got a couple different sets of in the slipcase edition in the last little while. Like the Numenera one came in, the D&D one came in recently. The Delta Green one, where are you there? Boop, right there, camera, right there we go. This hands down is a better version. I think this is a much better product than the others. The Massive Nyarlathotep is comparable in terms of how much stuff you get in that. And the thing, and it's actually in parts of Drinax as well. And it's not to criticize the quality of those other ones. Those other ones are great. Like, they're great books. And then there's a couple, sometimes they come with some other stuff as well. The thing that I love about this particular one and the Massive Nyarlathotep one is they figured a way to make a slipcase feel like a box set. A box set that we would have picked up in the 80s or 90s, where you're not only getting some books, you're also getting a bunch of cool little shit, little handouts or things that help make your experience at the table better. Like, one of the reasons why I got this guy here is because I know I'm going to be using that in an upcoming like a marathon, a game, our annual gaming marathon. We're using that thing to play, and it's because it's got so much cool stuff in it that it reminds me of those older, AD&D second edition, first edition box sets that had so much fun shit in it that we used over and over again. This box set and the other one I'm particularly excited about, because I've got lots of, and the Massive Nyarlathotep one, there we go, because it, they've managed to make a slipcase which looks beautiful on the shelf, and it's just great to look at, but still give you the satisfaction. And it's also going to weather better than what a box set will last. But they've figured a way to include all the cool stuff that you used to get in those old box sets. So if slipcases are the new box sets, then sign me up. Yeah, I totally agree, Fred. Greg Stafford is was a big influence on the change. Yeah, and Walter, look at that. Walter, are you from Manitoba as well, or I don't know? If you are, pretty cool. Walter mentioned that the bison represents the Aboriginal peoples of Manitoba, which is absolutely correct. You know, that's one of the things that the First Nations groups that lived in my home province were part of the Plains tribes. So they, you know, the joke about making every use of the entire buffalo is something I heard an awful lot as I was growing up. So anyway, as I said, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns about the box set, if I've missed something and you know, you want to add in particular, if there are people who are more familiar with the Glorantha setting, that I've missed something, or you want to highlight something else, that's cool. Please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section for the benefit and the edification of anyone else who may be curious as to what's in here and what you can do with this product. But I would expect to see this on the stream at some point in the near future as well too. The bestiary in particular was the thing that I was kind of waiting to get my hands on. And now knowing that there are some pre-made adventures in here as well too, or at least a kind of sandbox area that we can play in, that's going to make it a lot easier for me to get the sucker to the table and start seeing what the big deal is with Glorantha. So anyway, until next time then, folks, thanks so much for watching. And I will see you again very soon. Until then, happy gaming.